Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So Kristi Noem has revealed more about the incident that occurred in Minneapolis, where a woman was shot by an ICE officer. Okay, so when I first saw the first video that came out, I thought the ICE officer was on the side of the car. So my first instinct was it wasn't necessary for him to shoot her. But then more information came out. We saw different angles. The person who I thought fired the shot wasn't even the person who fired the shot. There was an officer directly in front of her car, and she didn't get out of the car, didn't follow instructions, and basically drove in his direction. Now, some people are saying that she was just trying to drive out of there. She would have turned, and she didn't get that opportunity. But as of now, based on the different angles that I've seen, I don't think the ICE officer is going to get in trouble. Like, I don't think they're going to see that what he did wasn't justified. But regardless, it's a very tragic situation. This is a mother of 3. One of her kids is 6 years old, and this young kid lost his father just 3 years ago, the 6-year-old. So just absolutely devastating regardless. But I do get concerned about the rhetoric that's being pushed at the moment. It's as if they want more people to lose their lives because they're encouraging, obstructing ICE doing their job. It's one thing to protest, but it's another thing to obstruct these ICE officers and try and stop them from doing their jobs. That can't end well.
Any loss of life is a tragedy, and I think all of us can agree that in this situation it was preventable. I've spoken to the president today on the situation here on the ground. I also just got off the phone a little while ago with Governor Walz and spoke to him as well. I want to reiterate first with all of you the facts of what happened today. At 10:25 a.m. Central Time, Immigration and Customs Enforcement were carrying out lawful operations here in Minneapolis. Because of the adverse weather that Minneapolis has seen in recent snow, one of the vehicles became stuck and ensnared in the snow. Law enforcement were attempting to push out this vehicle, and when a mob of agitators that were harassing them all day began blocking them in, shouting at them, and impeding law enforcement operations. ICE officers and agents approached the vehicle of the individual in question.
Yeah, they're definitely agitators, that's for sure. Some may suspect that they're even paid agitators. This goes beyond just peaceful protesting. And there's this new thing going around. They love to come out with different terminology. So now they're saying that these people are legal observers. They're pushing that terminology now, just like the unhoused or whatever weird stuff they come up with. So that's the new thing now, legal observers.
Blocking the officers in with her vehicle, and she had been stalking and impeding their work all throughout the day. ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands.
So she's saying that this woman had been stalking them all day, that this wasn't just the first incident involving her. So a lot of people were probably unaware of that. I wasn't aware of that. And I always say, you do not know what these people have been through, these ICE officers, on a day-to-day basis when they're doing their jobs. The same thing with the police. You don't know what they encounter on a daily basis, and they're not going to treat you differently from the cold-blooded killer who doesn't value life and will take their lives in an instant. They can't tell, if you're just a suburban mum wanting to protest or whatever. They don't know that. And, people were saying she intended to just drive off. She didn't intend to run him over. There's no way of us knowing that for sure. We cannot read, her motives. We cannot read people's motives. And there's no way of the ICE officer knowing that either.
She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues.
Yeah, that's how they're trained as well. That's another thing that people have to understand. That's how they're trained. When they, fire their weapon, they don't do it to, scare somebody or to shoot for the leg or to just fire one shot and hope, that will be enough.
Treated at a local hospital has been released and is now with family. I encourage the American people at this point in time to pray for him, but also to pray for the deceased's family and her loved ones. Today alone in this country, there have been 4 different domestic terrorist attacks on federal officers by the ramming of vehicles. 3 of them happened here in Minneapolis. We've seen over 100 of these vehicle rammings happen in just recent weeks, and this must stop. ICE alone is facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against all of them. In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June.
That's the thing. We do not know what these officers have dealt with. Imagine they are actually taking criminals off the street. When they were first assigned to do their deportations, it was initially the criminals who have come here from other countries. So they're dealing with gang members, traffickers, violent thugs from different parts of the world, people who do not value life. So you cannot take it for granted that, I'm, a white suburban mother and they're not going to treat me like they treat the others. You cannot take that for granted. There's no guarantee. You do not know what these officers have been dealing with.
According to a federal complaint, agents were executing a warrant for 39-year-old Roberto Carlos Munoz. They say Munoz entered the country unlawfully, and he also pled guilty to 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct back in 2023 for abusing a minor. Tuesday morning, agents pulled him over. Court documents say he repeatedly refused to comply before a federal agent took out his spring-loaded window punch with his right hand and broke the driver's side rear window. These images show the officer's hand in the vehicle. In this video, you can see the driver take off with the agent hanging from the car, dragging him 300 feet through front yards. These graphic images show the aftermath. A bloody agent who needed 33 stitches for his significant cuts. And now a political battle with a top Homeland Security official criticizing Governor Tim Walz, posting on X, instead of comparing ICE law enforcement to the Gestapo, Walz should be thanking our brave law enforcement. The Department of Justice says a request for Munoz to be held after that 2022 arrest was, quote, not honored by local authorities, and Munoz was released.
He sustained injuries at that time as well. And let me remind you why we're all here in this city today and why we've been here. In communities across this country and here in Minneapolis, we're just enforcing the laws that we have in this country. For years under President Biden, tens of millions of dangerous criminal illegal aliens, terrorists, and suspected terrorists were allowed to invade our country over our southern border. They were allowed to steal, to defraud, and to perpetuate violence against American citizens. Regardless of who your mayor or who your governor is, President Trump promised every single American that he would make America safe again. He promised every single American that he would work to protect them from dangerous criminals. Since Governor Walz has been in charge of Minnesota, we have seen homicides go up by over 50%. That's also during Mayor Frye's tenure as well. Since President Trump took office, Governor Walz has released over 470 violent criminals back onto the streets here in Minneapolis. He has another 680 of them still within his jurisdiction that he could give to us today to face the consequences for their crimes. Because Governor Walz and Mayor Frye refuse to protect Minnesotans, and instead they protect these criminals, that's why we are here. And we didn't just show up yesterday, we've always been here. But we're surging operations because of the dangerous situation we see in this country and because we're no longer going to allow illegal criminals to damage and harm, to kill, to sexually abuse, to proliferate drugs, and to steal American taxpayers' dollars. This state has faced unprecedented immigration fraud. It's seen unprecedented benefit fraud. Individuals were allowed to come into this country and set up fake companies and fake nonprofits and divert billions of dollars away from American citizens and those vulnerable citizens who truly needed the services from those programs. This city has burned before, and your mayor and your governor let it happen. President Trump is not going to let that happen. He and our federal law enforcement officers are here to bring peace and to bring public safety and to ensure that criminal activity is stopped and that people who perpetuate it will face consequences. Since we have been here in recent weeks, we have arrested over 1,500 criminals off of the streets.
I have to agree with that. I really do. I don't think we should become desensitized to these things, though, and say, well, they deserved it or anything like that. This is still a human being. And I do believe she made a mistake. Her wife has spoken out now. This is a woman married to a woman. The wife has spoken out. The wife says, she blames herself because she called her to come down to the protest. It's still tragic either way. But I do believe people need to learn from this. We don't want this to keep happening to people who want to protest. You want to protest, that's fine. But just stop trying to interfere with them doing their job. They're regular human beings too, and they're doing their job. They're deporting people who shouldn't be here. And it's the Biden administration that flooded the country. This wouldn't be necessary if the Biden administration didn't do what it did. And they started off with the criminals, and there were people still defending the criminals. They were defending terrorists, gang members, traffickers. They didn't want the traffickers to be deported as if they're victims. Give me a break. This is what I don't understand. And now this is going to be used. I don't know. It's very cold over there. So I don't think people are going to be out on the streets like they were during the summer of love. But people are using this. They're trying to make another George Floyd.
Looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy.
Renee Good. Say her name. Renee Good.
Not for racist deportation. I'm out. Shut it down. Immigrants are welcome here.
Back where it all began, and unfortunately, I think this is going to continue to happen because people are being egged on to carry on doing what they're doing. Ultimately, people need to be encouraged to protest peacefully and not interfere. That's not peaceful protesting once you start interfering, where you put them in fear for their life. They have been trained to eliminate that threat. It's as simple as that. And people need to remind themselves of that. But it's definitely a tragic situation. It's the children I feel sorry for the most. It's the children. Because this was unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. And I think that's the hardest part about this whole situation. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves. And God willing, I will see you in the next video.